Okay, so for question number 109 here, a lot of times what students will do is they'll just say like the limit of f of x is equal to 4. And so they'll plug in that 4 plus the 1/3, and then the limit of g of x is 9, and then evaluate that expression. The thing is that in order to do that, to plug in like that f of x's limit is equal to 4, g of x's limit is equal to 9, technically you are using the sum rule and the constant multiple rule. Now, keep in mind on your test, all I'm really after is the final answer of 7. So getting the fact that it's 7 is what I'm after for on your test. However, again, you're using limit properties to really get that I am using the sum rule to split this up into the limit as x goes to 6 of f of x plus, and then the limit as x goes to 6 of 1/3 g of x. So technically I'm using the sum rule, and then I'm also using the constant multiple rule or scalar multiple rule that will allow me to move this 1/3 out in front of that limit. So I'd have the limit as x goes to 6 of f of x plus, and then moving that 1/3 out in front, limit as x goes to 6 of g of x. And then from there, I can plug in that this limit of f of x is 4 and that the limit of g of x is 9. And you'll notice, of course, going through that work is exactly the same thing as just plugging in immediately. So it does not matter which one you do. Again, whatever you feel more comfortable with, but the final answer that we're looking for is 7. And if you just write 7 on your test, that is totally fine as well. So the same thing is true for question number 110. What you'll do is you'll use the power rule that allows us to slip the limit inside of the power. So technically what you're doing is you're writing, so let me write this over here. So technically what you're doing is you're writing the limit inside of that power. Raise it to the third over 6, or over 2, excuse me. And then once you do that, so that's our power rule. And then once you do that, you can plug in that this limit of h of x is 6 to the third over 2. Okay, and again, what we're after is just that final numeric answer. You're welcome to explain it as raising or the power rule and everything, but really it's just that final answer of 108 that we are after. Okay, and so again, this is where a lot of students will just be like, okay, well, the limit of h of x is 6 raised to the third over 2, and they kind of skip that justification of the power rule. Okay. So the same thing is true for question number 111. What you can do is you can use the composition rule that allows you to slip this limit inside of that composite function of a square root of g of x minus f of x. So what you would do is you would write this as the square root of the limit as x goes to 6 of g of x. And then also you have a difference. So because you have a difference, you can split that up by the difference rule. So you would have minus, and then the limit as x goes to 6 of f of x. Okay, so that would be the composite rule that allows us basically to slip it inside, or you can think about it as a radical would be a power, and then plug in that the limit of g of x is 9 and the limit of f of x is 4. So you would get the square root of 5. Okay, so again, that's formally what is allowing you to get to the square root of 5. However, on your test, if you just want to put in like that the g of x limit, I know you can't see this, but the g of x limit is 9, and then the f of x limit is 4, and then you're taking the square root of that to get the square root of 5, that is fine as well. But again, what allows you to do that is really kind of the composite or power rule, and then also the difference rule where you're splitting up that difference. Okay, so I want to be clear in these videos, like what matters is that final answer, not necessarily the justification of it. So just as long as you have 7, 108, and square root 5, you're good to go there.